Hey everybody, welcome to Elevate the Day. I'm Karen Jensen Salisbury here with my wonderful podcast co-host Jennifer Cavello.
Hey everyone, how you doing today?
We have a really special guest here today, so I'll let Jen take it away and introduce you.
Yay! So we are so happy and thrilled to welcome Reverend Gary Cortese to the show today. Wow, there's so much to say about what Gary does that I'm going to just turn it over to him and let him speak a little bit more about it. But you are going to want to pay close attention to what he has been doing and how he has been changing lives for the last 25 plus years. So, Gary, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit more about what you do and who you are and why you're here?
Why am I here? Why are any of us here? Well, kind and gracious words. Thank you. It's so good to be with you both. I appreciate the opportunity. It has been an amazing journey. I have just recently celebrated my 27th year of pastoring our church in Northern Illinois. Beacon Hill Assembly of God. 27 wonderful years. And they said they're not going to let me retire. I have to preach until Jesus comes to get me.
Okay.
So, and one of the exciting things is 25 years ago, another pastor and I decided that there had to be more we could do to help the hurting and suffering in our community as a result of some type of tragedy, car accident, medical emergency, house fire. And that began the chaplain program in our community. It's been an amazing journey. I decided early on that I was made for this. After the first call that I went on, which was a fatal car accident, I knew what an opportunity to bring light into the darkness. Churches are always finding ways to reach into the darkness and help people, but churches by and large do the same thing over and over and over. And I thought this is an incredible opportunity to step out of the mold, so to speak, cross all denominational lines and come together with other clergy just to help the ones who are suffering at their greatest moment of need. So the church experience has been phenomenal because I preach with a fire and a passion. And I love to raise up disciples and to see Christians grow in their faith. But there's something about bringing hope and help and strength. It's just an amazing ministry. So it's been quite a journey. I really would like to see others experience this, perhaps maybe looking for a way to minister, don't know what to do. Oh my goodness, I'm always looking for what I call chaplain support to help me.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
So Gary, for the listeners who may not know what a chaplain is or does, can you explain that a little bit more?
That's an excellent question, because truthfully, there are first responders who don't even know what chaplains do. Chaplains do not push religion. They are not there to, fly the banner of their denomination. Basically, a chaplain simply is there to provide support, any kind of support for those who are suffering, to coordinate resources as well. As an example, if you and your loved one are sitting there around the dinner table and your loved one suddenly has a cardiac episode and falls over, oh my God, you call 911, and the chaplain would respond to help you coordinate anything you need, but to see that you get to the hospital safely, behind the ambulance. Just simple, practical things that people don't even think about. Just very, very practical stuff to help.
And it's that practical help that we sometimes take for granted and overlook, and that causes the most stress, because in that moment, you're not thinking clearly, you're not rational, and it always helps to have, that support, that voice of reason, that helping hand to say, I'm here for you. I'll make sure that this happens and that happens. And that way you can be fully present with the loved one that is hurting or that needs your help as well, I would imagine.
Yeah. And it's that practical aspect that people sometimes overlook. until you experience the tragedy or the stress. As an example, a high stress incident or situation, the mouth goes dry. And sometimes the family member will say, I'm just so thirsty. And I'll let them know, well, this is what's happening. Your body is responding to this stress. I'm going to get you a bottle of water. You just stay right here. Sometimes people will say, I don't know what to do. What should I do next? Nothing. You are fully present right here. I'll take care of all the decisions, the phone calls, whatever you need. You're not pushing your religion, but your faith is shining through.
Right.
As a Christian. And you don't have to be a Christian to be a chaplain, by the way. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but that's it. It's the language of compassion.
Yes.
And we care about one another.
Yeah. The
Amen.
practice of presence, right?
Yeah.
Being there. You can't overestimate it. So do you ride along with the first responders, or do you follow along in your car? How do you know when to show up, when to go, and where do you go?
That's a great question. So I can respond in what's called the apparatus, or I can ride in with the first responder. Most of the times, though, I simply respond in my own vehicle because I can respond from anywhere at any time.
Right.
And you learn as you go. Certain calls probably require the presence of a chaplain.
Yeah.
Not every call. You're not needed for everything.
Right.
And sometimes a chaplain could be in the way. Well, what are you doing here? We've got some work to do. We don't need you. Nobody's dead. There's no tragedy here.
Right.
However, as a part of the team, they're just happy to see you show up, just to encourage them.
I was going to ask you, do the first responders, are they glad to have you along? And I suppose once you've been doing it for a long time, they kind of expect to see your face.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll hear that quite often. Boy, I'm so glad to see you. And you're just there as support. So the twofold, and that's excellent, because the twofold approach to this is that you reach into the lives of the hurting, the victims, okay? But you're also there as a part of the first responder team to encourage them and support them.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they need encouragement and support. Maybe they've had a bad day at home. Kids are out of control, don't know how I'm going to pay the bills, and I got all this pressure on me. But here's the chaplain coming along and patting me on the back saying, hey, you're doing a great job. I'm proud of you. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. And don't we all need a little pat on the back from time to time?
Yes, we do.
Amen. Amen. So you've got a pretty formalized chaplaincy program in your town. Is that right?
Very much so. It's really, we launched into this without knowing what to do, how to do it. And we just learned as we went. We went through the formal training. Training is ongoing as well. But I created this formal approach, or this model for chaplaincy. And then that model I'd like to share with others who perhaps are looking for, well, give me an idea about how to do this. What do we do? After 25 years, we are very well established. So I am the police chaplain, the fire chaplain, the sheriff's office chaplain, and also peer support team leader for the sheriff's office. And it works extremely well when you have a department chaplain who's able to serve strictly as a chaplain and not be police officer / chaplain, firefighter / chaplain. You can't do both on scene. It's
Right.
one or the
Wearing
other.
a lot of hats is hard. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that you might want to tell other people about what it's like to be a chaplain and their program. And so what did you do to help facilitate that?
That is so funny. You should ask, Jennifer. I wrote a book.
Man, look at that. Look at
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's great.
It's to ease their pain and suffering. And I had a little bit of help from a gal named Jennifer to put this together.
Yes.
Oh, and I put this book together because I wanted to share my heart. And really, I want to raise awareness as to, well, what does a chaplain do? I want to provide education as to, well, here's how you do it. And then I want to help other departments either start a chaplain program or enhance what they currently have.
Yeah.
So this book not only will share some stories, It will give you some stories and examples, if you will, but it's also got some practical steps to follow as well. And it's so easy that my 12-year-old grandson read it through twice.
Yay.
So
A
not
chaplain in
to
the
be
making.
intimidated. Yeah, yeah. So what a great what a great accomplishment to share these stories, and you know, for my wife to say, hey, these are very intriguing, they captivate you. I said, well, there's a pat on the back, thank you, dear.
Yeah.
She said, I think people are going to want to hear about this.
Yeah.
Well, everybody at some point will go through a tragic event or a difficult situation. We all lose loved ones.
Right.
And, you know, I deal with this on a regular basis, but the average person may only deal with this once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I saw some patterns that do develop, and people with faith tend to handle these things better than people with no faith.
Sure. Sure.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, and I have to say that these stories, first of all, Gary, you're an outstanding writer. So listeners, you know, hit the pause button and go get this book on Amazon, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But I have to say that these stories were so heartfelt and so inspiring and uplifting. I really wasn't aware of a chaplaincy program to the extent that, you know, you shared about. And so reading the stories, reading how it got started, reading about how practically you help the families, the first responders, and the community was really very eye-opening for me. And I thought, you know, I bet there's going to be a lot of people who read this book that are, number one, going to want to learn more, and number two, develop something, you know, in their own community, if you will.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for those very great compliments. I mean, I'm trying to keep my head from growing here, but yeah, I mean, I feel very strongly about what we do. I believe every community needs to have a robust chaplaincy, and I want to help with that. You know, I make myself available for guidance and counseling to answer questions. And I've had questions. I've had first responders calling me from across the nation.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, the big thing for them is to have a trusted source to just vent and talk through some things.
Yeah.
You never have to say a word back. You just listen.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And it's always
So,
good to learn from someone who's been through the trenches and knows and has a variety of experiences that that, you know, you're willing to share and willing to help others come alongside of you. So speaking of being that trusted advisor, how do people find out, number one, how to get your book, number two, how to get in touch with you if they have questions and want to start something like this in their town?
well, the book is available on Amazon. So you simply go to Amazon, and the title is, you know, To Ease Their Pain and Suffering. A lovely cover design. That is not actually me in the middle, but it could be any chaplain.
Big.
Yeah, it could be. But so that's available on Amazon. Email, right now, I think the easiest way for someone to email me is to simply remember chaplain@byronfire.com. chaplain@byronfire.com. And then for our church website, we have a website, a new website. It's going to be developing, and it's under construction, but beaconhillbyron.org, beaconhillbyron.org. I'd love to answer questions and help provide guidance, and mostly because there is a great amount of ignorance, if you will, as to what we do and how we help. And I believe that the stories that I've shared, some of the things that I wrote about, will help to offset that. So yes, we'd love for people to go on and get the book. Easy read. It's informative, educational, if you will, and inspirational.
Amen. Amen. So boy, thank you so much, Gary, for coming on the show. This is a really, in my opinion, critical topic, because so many there's just so much craziness going on in the world.
Yeah.
And the more support and help that we can lend to our friends and neighbors in need, it'll help us get through some of these difficult times. And so I would love it if you would pray over our listeners and share some of your heart and God's heart. And listeners, will put all the links and everything in the show notes and on social media, so you'll be able to get in touch with Gary. And God bless you, Gary, and all that you're doing. And I pray your book, it will be a huge success.
Well, I appreciate that, Jennifer, and it certainly would be an honor to pray for the listeners. So we
Yes.
can do that now.
Yep.
So, Father, I just want to thank you for each one that is listening. And Lord, I thank you that you are the strength that we need in times of weakness, and you are the light and the hope that we need in darkness and in fear and confusion. And so I pray for each first responder and their families. I pray that you encourage them and protect them. I pray that you remind them that this is a sacred call, that they are your hands reaching into the darkness. So, Father, I thank you for each first responder and for the call upon their lives. And for anyone out there who is suffering and struggling, I pray that they will feel and sense your peace and the hope and the encouragement that you alone bring. I thank you that you are at work even this moment in their hearts and in their lives. And we thank you for doing it in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Gary. And listeners, boy, go get this book and share it with your local police departments, fire departments, etc., because I have a strong feeling they're going to be interested and want to start a chaplaincy program ASAP. So until next week, God bless you and have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.